So let's get started. Steve, good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to PIDC's. This is a second webinar, which is actually a repeat of what we did earlier in this month for the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And the reason we thought it was important to host this again is because this program is providing an incredible amount of financial support to small businesses across the country. And the deadline is quickly approaching. And there have been some changes, some significant changes have been made to the program. So this isn't just a repeat of the EIDL program, as we call it, from 2020. The SBA has made some significant changes, and we thought it was important for you to know about the changes. For some of you who did not take advantage of the program last year because there was so much focus on the Paycheck Protection Program, PIDC thought it was important enough for us to work with our partners at the SBA to bring this information to you again. And so it is our pleasure, as always. You know, for those of you who are on, we have been partnering with the SBA for a lot of years, but that relationship has really grown during this past 19 months, as everyone is so concerned about getting the financial resources and non-financial resources into the hands of small businesses that have been so devastated by the impacts of this pandemic. And so we are very grateful for having the very capable and knowledgeable team of the Eastern Pennsylvania District Office on with us today. And so I'm going to introduce Steve Dixell and let him then take it through the rest of his team. Steve is the district director. And so we've got the head honcho for Eastern Pennsylvania on this call today because he knows how important it is for the SBA to get these resources into your hands. And as I always say, get it from the horse's mouth. There are a lot of organizations that talk about what the SBA does, but I believe if you want to know the exact and accurate information, get it from the source. And so we are happy today to have the source with you. So Steve Dixell, again, on behalf of PIDC, Ann Nevins, our president, Sam Rhodes, our executive vice president, Thomas Queenan, another EVP. We are just very delighted that you have taken the time to join us. So Steve, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Marla, and thank you to the entire PIDC team. As you know, as you mentioned, EIDL is going to sunset at the end of December, and we want to, talk to you today about the EIDL program and about the opportunities as well as the timeline that is remaining, so you could take full advantage of the program. In terms of my team, you guys have a great team here. I'm not the head honcho. I follow these guys. They are phenomenal. We have Deputy Director Michael Kane from the SBA. We have Rob Goza, Lead Economic Development Specialist. We have Kim Stout, Lender Relations Specialist, and Sonia Smith, Public Information Officer, who will present the EIDL loan updates to you today. And at the conclusion of the program here, we're going to send you a full PowerPoint which covers all this information. Just as some background, Marla, and to the PIDC group, we've had a lot of success here with the EIDL program, and as of September 30th, we've approved over 102,000 EIDL loans in Pennsylvania for nearly $7 billion. That's on top of the 352,000 PPP loans that we've also done for $31 billion. And overall, we've injected nearly $38 billion into the Pennsylvania economy by way of the SBA programs. Also, in terms of EIDL, we've also funded over 12,000 targeted EIDL advances in the state for more than $106 million. And finally, to help the smallest businesses in underserved Pennsylvania communities. SBA has funded over 9,000 supplemental targeted EIDL advances for more than 49 million. I know there's a lot of acronyms here, and Sonia will go through all of them when she does her presentation. But as you mentioned, there's still funding available in the EIDL program. It's going to expire December 31st. So now is the time to get an application in. We want to stress that. And we also want to stress that SBA is here to help you along with our other resource partners to help you do that. In addition to providing information on EIDL today, Sonia will also touch upon the impact of our other programs, such as the Paycheck Protection Program, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, and the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant programs, and then conclude with an overview of our counseling, capital, and contracting programs, and take any questions or concerns that you might have. Marla, again, I want to thank you and the PIDC team for hosting this event. We appreciate you stressing the importance of it. We realize that also too, the pandemic is still going on, but we all have to lean on each other for support during this time, and where SBA can help is by helping folks get access to capital. So at this time, I just want to turn it over to Sonia, and go ahead, Sonia, take it away.
All right, great. Let me just share my screen and I'll pull up today's presentation. Can everybody see that? Can I get a shout out if you can see the screen?
It's up on my screen. Thank you.
All
Yes,
right,
Sonia.
perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marla, for joining with SBA again. We did this presentation on October 13th. And if you weren't here for that one, we're happy that you're here for this one. And if you were in the one for September 13th, or excuse me, October 13th, and you're back again with us, great, because there is a lot of information that we have to share. As I go through today's program, I want to let you know that my colleague, Kim Stout, is on today, and she will be answering your questions live in chat. We do have a lot of information to cover, and so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. That way we want to make sure that we can get through everyone's questions during the hour that we have in today's program.
Sonia, may I interrupt you for just a second? Do you have the PowerPoint in slide presentation instead of PDF?
Yeah, why?
It's just being asked if you could use that format.
Okay.
If you can't do it quickly, that's fine.
All right, no problem.
If you just go to slideshow and then from the beginning.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you.
Is everybody happy with this presentation now?
Yep, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. So today's agenda, what we will be doing is just giving a brief overview on the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. As Steve mentioned, he did give you the data on all of the loans we've delivered in Pennsylvania. We'll also have a slide on the RRF, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, that is closed. And you can see the impact that that grant has had in businesses in Pennsylvania, and the SBA, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, the impact that grant has had on businesses and nonprofits in Pennsylvania. Then we're going to go into the COVID Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. There's two parts to that. There's the loan program, and then there are the targeted and supplemental advances, which are also known as the grant portion. If you're interested in the grant portion, you're going to find out that you first need to apply for the loan. So it's important that you listen to the EIDL loan portion so you understand what you need to do before you can apply for the grants. And then finally, if time permits, we'll go over SBA assistance and resources that are available. You will be receiving a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. It's actually going to be in two parts. The first part will be all about the COVID-19 relief programs. And then the second part will be about our SBA assistance and resources that are available to you. And as I mentioned, please put any questions that you have in the chat so we can answer them for you during today's presentation. So SBA, if you're not familiar with us, we are a federal government agency with a mission to help entrepreneurs and small businesses start, grow, expand, and in times of disaster, recover. And when we talked about disaster in the past, it was always natural disasters. For example, many of you may have been impacted by Hurricane Ida, or maybe you were familiar with Hurricane Sandy that happened, or some of the droughts and flooding that we've experienced in Pennsylvania. So now, besides having natural disasters, obviously, SBA is very heavily involved in helping businesses to recover through the COVID-19 pandemic. This slide just gives you an overview of the loan programs and the grant programs that we have. Obviously, PPP is now closed. Most people, if you did get a PPP, a Paycheck Protection loan, we encourage you to go through the forgiveness. SBA has established a direct forgiveness portal if your lender is participating and if your PPP loan is $150,000 or less. So we encourage you to get that PPP loan forgiven, get that off of your books. Debt relief was another program that we had that businesses that had SBA loans with us, whether they were 7A, 504, or microloans, we assisted them by providing monthly payments. That program has now closed. And as I mentioned, the Shuttered Venues Operator Grant, that program is closed. Our staff at SBA is now involved in providing supplemental grants to the venues and the operators that had applied for the first round of grants. And of course, the RRF, the Restaurant Revitalization Grant, is closed. We know that a lot of the restaurants and the small businesses have been expending their funds, and pretty soon they will be able to document how they use their funds and close that out. So the only thing that's left on the screen is the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan that we will be talking about today. This is just a screen. Steve went over this, the impact of the PPP loan program that has happened nationally and in Pennsylvania, and also the EIDL. This is just the impact of the RRF and the SBA nationally and in Pennsylvania. So let's just get into the meat of the program here, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. And bear in mind that this is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program for businesses and nonprofits that have been financially impacted by COVID. So this is the only remaining option that is available in our pandemic portfolio of different loan programs and grant programs that SBA had available. You will see that the terms are very generous. It's a 3.75% interest for small businesses. It's 2.75% interest for nonprofits. No matter what the amount of the loan that you receive, it is a 30-year repayment, and the first 2 years are deferred. Interest does accrue, but you do not need to make a payment for the first 2 years. And you can see that with that 30-year repayment horizon and the 2-year deferment, it makes it very affordable in making sure that you're able to conserve your cash flow and have a relatively smaller monthly payment. The example on the slide here, you can see that $10,000 EIDL based on a 2-year deferment with a 30-year repayment, your monthly repayment will be less than $50 a month. The uses are extremely flexible, and we're going to go into the uses. You can see any normal operating expense and working capital, including paying business debt. And we're going to talk about exactly what is this paying business debt part. The application is accessible. You do not need to go to any third party or any type of a lender to apply. This is directly through the SBA. For some of our small loans, you can even do it on your smartphone. So again, some of the benefits is the small payments, again, to allow you to preserve your cash flow because we can extend payments for 30 years. And some of the debt payments that you're able to make are credit card payments for business expenses that you put on your credit card, increased wages if you are paying your employees more, accumulated rent, and increased cost of goods. So you can see this includes a lot of expenses that you had accrued before or during the pandemic. So what is the application process? Number one, you should have less than 500 employees. And this is not just for small businesses. If you are a sole proprietor or self-employed small business owner, or even a contractor, a 1099, you're able to apply. We do require a credit score of at least 570, and you need evidence of being in business or being invested in launching your business by last January 2020. As I mentioned, there's a cell phone friendly application for loans under $25,000. And the estimated timeline has really improved. The deadline is December 31st. So we don't want you to wait until the end if you are thinking about or you feel you need some access to capital, you need some working capital to get you through the pandemic because it's still around us. Definitely apply. How much will you get? The formula is very simple. Your annual revenue, which we will take a look at, your federal income tax, subtracted your annual cost of goods sold, which is also reported on your federal taxes. You take that number, you multiply it by 2, and that's the maximum loan amount that you are eligible for. Now, that doesn't mean that you may need or want the entire loan amount. So you're always able to adjust the loan amount to a smaller amount if you don't want as much as your economic formula calculates. The documents that you're going to need are your federal income taxes. And we will have you sign something called an IRS Form 4506T. What that does is that allows SBA to reach out to the IRS and to receive a transcript of the federal taxes that you provided to the IRS. We make sure that that matches up with the federal income taxes that you supplied to us. So there have been some policy updates. It happened about a month and a half ago, and we're going to go through some of these. So Previously, the most that you could get from an EIDL loan was $500,000. This has now increased to $2 million. And as you can see, if you had that calculation and previously you were able to get up to $2 million, but you got less than that, you got less than $500,000, you should be able to go into your portal and request an increase to your EIDL loan if you so want. So the other change that happened, if you remember when I talked about the allowable use of funds, is that now if you can use these funds to make payments and prepayments of commercial debt. So what does that mean? That means if your business has any type of a business loan, say through another bank, you're able to make monthly payments from the COVID EIDL and apply them to the monthly payments to the commercial loan that you have with a bank. You can also make extra payments on those on that commercial debt. Now, if you have federal debt, meaning that you have an SBA loan or an SBA 504 loan or an SBA microloan, you are able to make regularly scheduled monthly payments only on those loans. So as you can see, that has really increased the use of the funds availability and flexibility of the COVID EIDL loan. As I mentioned, there's an automatic deferment of 24 months. And number 4, affiliation requirements are simplified. And we're going to go into that a little bit when we talk about business side standards in specific NAICS codes. So when we talk about affiliation, you may wonder, well, what exactly does that mean? And we've really simplified the definition to say that it's a business you control or in which you have 50% or more ownership. And that'll take an effect when we talk about, we've included specific industries that are impacted by COVID. And for these specific NAICS codes, and I believe the next slide will tell you exactly what industries these NAICS codes are in. Also, if you don't know what your NAICS code is, it is referenced on your federal tax return. Again, if it's not on there or you don't know, we encourage you to either contact PIDC or contact us, and we're happy to identify what your NAICS code is. So the NAICS code is important because with these specific NAICS codes, if you are in one of these NAICS codes and you have no more than 500 employees per physical location, and you have not more than 20 locations, and you meet all the other COVID eligibility requirements, then you're eligible to apply for the COVID EIDL. The other thing that we've done is we've added a 10 million limit on the maximum aggregate of COVID EIDL loans that a single corporate group can have. Okay, and as you can see, we've got the COVID microloan, which is up to 25,000. Then we had the loan that went up to 500,000, and now we've got the loan that is up to 2 million. So no matter how much you're able to receive from $1,000 to 2 million, the interest rate is the same, the term is the same, and the deferment is the same. What changes is if you're looking to receive an EIDL over $500,000, then your minimum credit score needs to be 625. Also, in regards to collateral, the microloan COVID EIDL, we do not take any collateral on it, nor do we ask for any personal guarantee. So as the loan amount increases, any loan over $25,000, there will be collateral up to $500,000. All we do is we take a UCC-1 filing. What does that mean? That means we put a lien on your business assets, not real estate, just your business assets. So your inventory, your equipment, things like that. Also, Now, if your loan is over $500,000, not only will we take the UCC1 lien, but we also will take any business real estate. Now, I want to emphasize that business real estate, not personal real estate. Finally, there is a personal guarantee required on any loan over $200,000. And that personal guarantee would be from any owners that own 20% or more of the business. And no matter how much of an EIDL loan you get, you can see the uses are the same for payroll, rent, purchasing inventory, materials, your variable costs, commercial debt, where you can do payments and prepayments of commercial debt, and then federal debt, any SBA loans, you can make regularly scheduled payments on. And of course, this is all really for working capital. This just is another slide that references that the maximum loan amount is now $2 million. So again, how can my business spend my economic injury disaster loan? You can see that it's working capital to carry the concern until the resumption of normal operations and for expenditures necessary to alleviate the specific economic injury. Meaning that, there is no time limit right now that is set for expending all the funds. As I mentioned, we're still in the COVID pandemic. And if you feel you're going to need the funds to continue to meet your expenses, we encourage you to apply. And again, you can make monthly payments, including interest, prepayments on commercial debt, and again, just regularly scheduled payments on any federal debt. And of course, this is all business debt that your business has incurred. This just gives you a little bit more of information. We've talked about the affiliation rule that was simplified. We also talked about the expansion for eligibility if you're in those specific NAICS codes. And again, you don't employ more than 500 employees per physical location, and together with affiliates have no more than 20 locations, you can then meet the site standards to apply. And again, no single corporate group can receive more than $10 million in total. As I mentioned, if you're a business, including an agriculture cooperative, an aquaculture enterprise, a nursery, if you're an individual who operates a sole prop, an independent contractor, if you're a private nonprofit organization of any size, a faith-based organization, as you can see, your employee stock ownership plan business, all of these types of businesses are eligible to apply for the COVID EIDL. Again, these were the NAICS codes. And this is the slide that tells you what industry these NAICS codes are. So this is helpful if, for example, we know a lot of people may be in the accommodation and food services. So again, if you are in the accommodation and food services, and let's say you have 2 locations, and in each location you have 500 or fewer employees, and obviously 2 is less than 20, then you are eligible to apply. And if this isn't confusing in any way, again, please reach out to us in the chat or contact PIDC or us after the program, and we're able to help you specifically with your determination. This is more in regards to affiliated businesses. And this is just more in regards to the maximum loan amount, which I believe we've covered both pretty much. So here's the timeline. So if you're a new COVID EIDL applicant, you can pursue one of 2 paths. So you can, number one, take up to $500,000 immediately if you qualify for that, and then request more than $500,000 if you've done the calculation and you realize that you're eligible for more than $500,000. Or you can apply for more than $500,000 immediately. Also, don't forget, if you already have a COVID EIDL, that you had calculated your loan amount was actually able to be more than $500,000, and because the cap was increased to $2 million, you can now follow the steps to request an increase up to the maximum loan amount that you had calculated, but not more than $2 million. And that would be in the portal. So this just gives you the documents that are required for loan amounts over $500,000. Of course, we would be looking for your 2019 federal income tax returns, standard resolution and certification, a schedule of liabilities, a listing of real estate owned, and a personal financial statement. And that's for sole props and independent contractors. And all of this would be in the portal. And we do have copies of what this looks like. So there's one of the resolutions, schedule of liabilities, collateral property list. And now we're just going to give you an update on the closing process for loans over $500,000. Actually, no matter what your loan amount is, there will be a loan authorization and agreement that will be generated in the portal for you to sign electronically through DocuSign. Also a promissory note. Then for other loans, there would be the security agreement. Remember, if you needed to have a UCC-1 filed for us to put a lien against your business assets. And of course, if it was over $200,000 and personal guarantees were required, then that would be another loan document that would be in your portal. Loans over $500,000 with real estate collateral. Obviously, there would be a mortgage document, and if needed, any additional state or county required documents, and of course, a certification of federal flood insurance. So this is the timeline, and this timeline, you can see if you're asking for under $500,000, it takes about 3 weeks. Funds over $500,000 takes about 6 weeks. An application for under $500,000 and then an increase to over $500,000, then that would be a total of 9 weeks. So, and that is assuming everything that was in the application was perfect and accurate. So if SBA needs to reach out to you for additional information, then the timeline may be longer. So as you can see, we are really urging you to, if you are considering this in any way, to certainly apply. Again, at the bottom are all of the documents that are needed. And I would just encourage you that when you are applying, make sure that you do have your federal income taxes with you. Also make sure that when you complete the application, and especially the IRS Form 4506T, it asks you for the name of your business, the address, things like that. Make sure you complete that as the way it is notated on your federal income tax. That's one of the things that is a hiccup when people apply, that when they complete the 4506T, the information that they put on that form is not the same as on your federal income taxes. And remember, as I mentioned, what we do is we use that form to pull a transcript of your federal income taxes, so that information has to match. The other thing I would encourage you to do is also to have a copy of your business check with you, so you know what your routing number is, what your checking account number is, how your business name is formed in the checking account, because that's another hiccup. Also, make sure that whatever emails you provide are the emails that you will be using. Hiccups occur, again, when people in the middle of the application decide to change the email address. So, you know, SBA is very vigilant to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse. And, you know, hiccups like that, you know, cause us to take a second look, a third look, and we want to make sure that your application gets processed in the correct amount of time. So it's just so important to make sure you have all of the information complete from the beginning. Where can you get the application? On our website, sba.gov/EIDL. We have FAQs, frequently asked questions. We've got a sample intake form. We've got an intake checklist to help you, and even a portal checklist. So lots of resources available to help you through this process. This is the phone number for our Disaster Customer Service Center. They're available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. Again, there's the hot link for the website. We encourage you to sign up to our newsletter. Just go to sba.gov/updates, and you would put in your zip code, and you would be matched up with whatever district office you're working with. Our office, Eastern Pennsylvania, we cover 40 counties in Eastern Pennsylvania. So if you think of Penn State in the middle, we cover up to Center County, and from Center County all the way to the Ohio border is covered by our sister office, the Western Pennsylvania District Office out in Pittsburgh. And of course, we have 68 district offices throughout the US, including Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. So no matter where you are listening from, there is a district office to assist you. Also, we're on social. Follow us on Twitter. The hot link is to our national Twitter account. We also encourage you to follow us locally. Our local Twitter account is SBA_Eastern PA. And that is really the fastest way to get information. Whatever we learn, we put it out there on Twitter as soon as we know it's out there to help all of our small businesses. You can find your local district office by going to the hot link for local assistance. And of course, everything about SBA, our programs, services, you can just go to sba.gov. These are just some FAQs. So where do you go to apply? sba.gov/EIDL. Now, you may be incorrectly denied. And for denied applicants, we encourage you to apply for reconsideration and just follow the process outlined in the decline letter. You do have 6 months from the date you are declined to ask for a reconsideration. And the program is available until December 31st. Very important. Please don't wait till the end. We encourage you to do it now. So now let's talk about the grant side. We're going to talk about the targeted EIDL advance and the supplemental targeted EIDL advance. The most important thing to know is you need to first apply for the EIDL loan. So up to $15,000 in grant funding is available to eligible businesses. However, as I mentioned, and I'm going to keep emphasizing, if you are interested in the grants, you must apply for the COVID EIDL first. So even if you're declined for the EIDL loan, so for example, maybe you're declined because your credit score does not meet the minimum, you can still apply for the grant. And let's say you are applied for the EIDL loan, but you don't want it because all you want is the grant, you can still apply for the grant and decline the EIDL loan. So again, small businesses, sole props, 1099s, and private nonprofit organizations are all eligible to apply for the grant funding. Agricultural enterprises are not eligible for the grant funding.
Sonia, I'm sorry to interrupt. That is so important, that information that you just said, because people will sometimes get confused about applying for something, getting turned down, but still getting approved for something else. If you would not mind, can you just repeat all of that again?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the number one thing to remember is to even be considered for the grant funding, you need to apply for the EIDL loan. If you're declined for the EIDL loan, and one of the reasons I gave is, for example, your credit score doesn't meet the minimum 570, you can still apply for the grant. And let's say you are approved for the EIDL loan, but you don't want it at all, you can still apply for the grant. So hopefully, that's why, as I mentioned, it was so important for you to listen to the first part, because you need to correctly apply for the EIDL loan first before getting the consideration for the grant.
Yes, and Sonia, I'll just interrupt here too, because one of our questions in the Q&A was if the economic injury disaster loan for COVID was going to be turned into a grant or forgivable. And so I just want to differentiate, because you've now approached the targeted advance in the supplemental section of this presentation, is that the COVID economic injury disaster loan is a loan. As Sonia went over, it's 30-year terms. The interest rate is fixed. It is paid back. It is not a grant. Please note that as Sonia continues with this grant, that is part of the COVID economic injury disaster loan program, but very specific as to who can apply and receive these funds.
Great, thank you. Yes, and thank you, Marla, and thank you, Kim. And again, remember, there's two parts. There's the EIDL loan, which is a loan. The loan is not forgivable. It is something that you need to pay back. But you need to apply for the loan before you can be considered for the grants. Okay, and as I mentioned, if you're declined for the EIDL loan, you can still apply for the grant. And if you're just applying for the EIDL loan because all you're interested in is for the grant, and if you are approved for the EIDL loan, you can decline it and still apply for the grant. So there's two different portions. And remember, the grant funding is only up to $15,000. We talked about the EIDL loan, which now has a maximum amount of $2 million. Okay, so let's get talking about the grant program. So in regards to the targeted EIDL advance, you will then be contacted by the SBA via a direct email invite. And how will that happen? Remember, because you filled out the application for the EIDL loan. Now, for the targeted EIDL advance, there are some requirements, okay? You need to be in a low-income community. How do you find that out? We're going to go through that and show you that there is a mapping tool that you can use. You'll put in your business address, and it'll tell you immediately in black and white if you're in a low-income community or not. You also need to have suffered greater than a 30% economic loss and have 300 or fewer employees. The grants are targeted to our small businesses that have suffered due to the EIDL pandemic. So if you meet the above three criteria, then you may be able to receive the targeted EIDL grant. And how will this work? So if you remember, before we had EIDL advances, some people got a full 10,000, some people got 1,000, some people got 3,000. Whatever you got, if you did not get the full 10,000 when you applied for the EIDL advance, it'll balance you out to a full $10,000. Now, if you, again, did not receive any EIDL advance, then you will get $10,000. So the maximum amount of the targeted EIDL advance is $10,000. And again, you will receive an email invitation with instructions on how to determine eligibility and submit documentation. And you can't get that email unless you apply for the EIDL loan. Okay, so some of the items that will be needed to verify eligibility that you would submit through the portal would be, again, your 2019 federal tax return. You should know your EIN or your social security number as you originally applied for the EIDL loan. You're going to show your monthly gross receipts for all of 2019, all of 2020, and all of the completed months in 2021. So if you're doing it today, it would be your monthly gross receipts from January 2021 through September 2021. And you would need to document that from 2019 to 2020, you had a 30% reduction in revenue. Okay. Again, you may be required to sign another 4506T for the SBA to obtain tax transcripts. And you may wonder, well, why do I continually need to sign a 4506T? And that is because the 4506Ts expire after a certain period. So when it's required for you to sign one, sign it and date it with whatever date it is that you're signing it. Don't submit an old one because, as I mentioned, they expire and your signature needs to have a current date on it. So one submission for each targeted EIDL advance can be made. Again, review that bank account information. That's what we're seeing, a lot of, hiccups in the application process. And as I mentioned, another hiccup is emails. Stick with an email when you apply and keep that email until you receive your funding. If you have any questions on the targeted EIDL advance, we have an email there that you can reach out to. And if you're approved, you would receive the email and an automatic deposit to your bank account information. If you're declined, you can email that email over there, the hot link, and request a reevaluation if you disagree with the decline decision. Now, there's also the supplemental targeted advance. So remember, the targeted advance was to get you to $10,000. The supplemental targeted is an additional $5,000. So again, SBA will reach out directly via email to those who may qualify. How do you qualify? You first have to apply for the EIDL loan. Now, the combined amount of the supplemental targeted advance, $5,000, with any previously received EIDL advance or targeted EIDL advance, remember that's up to $10,000, will not exceed $15,000. So $15,000 is the most anyone can receive in EIDL grants. Again, if you're approved, you receive an email, it automatically goes into your account. If you're declined, you can use that email hot link to request a reevaluation. So what's the criteria for the supplemental? Again, you need to be located in the low income community. And right here is the mapping tool that you can use. Just use that hot link. It's also on the website, sba.gov/EIDL, to see if you're located in the low income community. Now, here's a hint for you, okay? If all you want is the grants, what you might want to do first is see if you're located in a low income community, because that will determine whether you are eligible for the EIDL grants. So if all you want is the grant and you realize you need to apply for the EIDL loan first and you're not interested in the EIDL loan, at least check to see if you're located in that low income community. And as I mentioned, shaded areas are in purple, and if your business falls into those purple shaded areas, then you are located in a low income community. Now, for the supplemental, you need to document that you've suffered greater than a 50% economic loss compared during an 8-week period beginning on March 2020 or later compared to the same period of the previous year. Remember, that's why you're going to need to show all of your revenues for 2019, 2020, and 2021 up through September if you're doing it today. With this one, because SBA is targeting the smallest of the smallest businesses for the supplemental to receive that extra $5,000, you need to have 10 or fewer employees. And at this point, the next part of the presentation is an overview of our programs and services, but I am going to stop here because we have about 8 minutes left. And I want to make sure that before we delve into this part, that we answer all of the questions that you have on your EIDL, on the EIDL loan program and on the EIDL grant program. So Kim, are there any other outstanding questions that we should answer?
Sure. So I'll just go through some of the questions that we have here. I do have one on PPP, but I'm going to hold that till the last, just so we stay focused on economic injury disaster for the moment. One, just wanted to confirm NAICS codes. One way that you can find your NAICS code is by looking at your federal tax return to see how you've been filed, or you can go online and just use the search engine for NAICS code and put in your industry, and it will show and confirm what NAICS code you're looking for.
Yeah, Kim, and I just want to add, if you go to sba.gov/size, SIZE, that's a helpful way to get to the NAICS codes.
Okay. And then we just had a couple questions that we talked about briefly between the EIDL, COVID EIDL loan and the supplemental and targeted advance grant. One was if they believe they were eligible for the advance, but did not get an invitation. If you believe that you are eligible and you cannot find your invitation, you can contact our customer service center at 800-659-2955 or email targetedadvance@sba.gov to request a new invite.
There you go.
And then we're just going to switch gears briefly to Paycheck Protection Program. I had somebody state that they were approved for PPP round 2, second draw, and never received it. What can be done? Absolutely nothing, unfortunately, can be done at this time. The Paycheck Protection Program closed in May of 2021. Once federal funding it runs out, there's nothing that can be done moving forward. So unfortunately, our lenders were responsible for the PPP program. If they did not disperse the funding, they cannot do so at this time. So there's absolutely nothing that can be done. Unfortunately, you're not the only one. I have heard of this from several others, but once funding goes, it goes. Let me see. Let's see. Yes, so I will put the customer service number in the chat in just a few minutes here. Sonia had it up. Sonia has the targeted advance at SBA email up there, and then there is the 800. I'll type that as you have that there, Sonia, so that they have it in the chat box. And then there's one other question I want to get to. Somebody received the economic injury disaster loan. They received the invite, but did not for the targeted advance, but did not get a response for the grant. I would say probably at this point in time, it's in process. It does take a little bit of time for them to go through to make sure that you are actually eligible for the program and go through your paperwork to make sure that that funding is going to the appropriate applicants. So at this point in time, I would say that if you have not gotten a response in regards to the grant as of yet, it's being reviewed at this time, and to monitor your emails for further action.
Right, and remember the timeline is 3 weeks. So wait 3 weeks before contacting customer service to see what the status is.
And I believe that is all that we have in the chat box. So everything else is good at this point. I do see that we do have a hand raised, but I do know that I did answer a question in the chat from Deshonda too. So Deshonda, if you still have your question, you can certainly unmute yourself and ask now.
Hi, ladies, and thank you so much for taking my questions. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Did you still have a question, or was I able to answer it in the Q&A?
Yes, you did answer my first question. And I just have a follow-up question. This is pertaining to my fiance. He drives Uber and Lyft, and he started at the end of 2019. He filed taxes through 2020 and 2021 for his Uber and Lyft. I'm just wondering if he's also eligible for the program.
So did he generate any revenue in 2019?
Yes, at the end. So he started driving December 2019.
So did he submit federal taxes then for 2019 for the revenue he made in 2019?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So then he is eligible because
Okay.
he is able to show his 2019 federal tax return.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's
You're
all I
welcome.
have.
Mhm.
Okay. And I think at this point, Sonia, I think that handles all the questions unless somebody else pops in with a question.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for answering all of the chat questions. And at this point, we're going to say thank you to Marla Hamilton and her team at PIDC for inviting us to come and share this information with you. We did not get a chance to go through the SBA programs and services, but no worries, because you will be getting a copy of that PowerPoint for you to review at your convenience. And of course, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to contact Marla, feel free to contact us at SBA, and we'll be happy to help you. Marla, is there anything that you'd like to end with?
I do. I put it in the chat, but I also want to mention that this webinar today on the Economic Injury Loan Program will be repeated by PIDC. We're inviting the SBA to come back on this Friday, and it will be in Spanish, fully Spanish. And so we will have Wilma Bonilla of the SBA, who will be our presenter. So if anyone on this call, if anyone in your network speaks, they're Latino, Latina entrepreneur, and they need this information, please have them come on this Friday at 12 o'clock noon. Then in next month, in November, we have a 3-part series that we are sponsoring in partnership with the SBA again. And all of this information is available on PIDC's website for events. Beginning on Tuesday, November 2nd, we are going to host the SBA, and we're going to talk about federal hub zones. People have heard about hub zones, but there is so little real knowledge about how those zones benefit you in a financial way when you are looking to do contracting with the federal government. And so that is part 1 of that 3-part series. We're going to explain hub zones and where they are. And so you will be able to tell from your address if you are located in a federal hub zone. The following Tuesday on November 9th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to talk about contracting with the federal government. So the SBA team is going to come in again, and they're going to tell you all the things that are needed to get started doing federal contracting. That is on Tuesday, November 9th. And then wrapping up that 3-part series on Tuesday, November 16th at 2 o'clock again in the afternoon, we are going to talk about SBA surety bonding. And so if you are in the construction industry, or you know someone who is in the construction industry and often has challenges getting the required bonding, then we're going to bring the SBA in and talk about how they may be able to solve that problem. So again, this information is on the PIDC website, where you can register for 1 or 2. We suggest you register for all 3 of the webinars. Again, this is our effort and our commitment to getting the best information to you. And it's available because of the great work that is done by the SBA. And we're so fortunate to have this team in Eastern Pennsylvania in this district office. So that's it for me, Sonia. I thank you. I thank Kimberly for always being available. We're pushing, it is almost November, we're pushing the Emerging Leaders Program. So that you should look for us to have SBA come back, and we'll start probably, Kimberly, at the beginning of the year for
Yep.
recruitment.
Yep, after the holidays, we'll be back to talk about that.
So we've got a lot of activity that's coming up for helping you scale your business, get the business education that you need, get the financing that you need, all of the resources to help your success and your growth. So here it is. This is the best that we can do, is give you the information. And after that, it is on you. So again, we thank you all for taking the time out today. We look forward to seeing you. If we don't see you on this Friday, we look forward to you registering for next week when we will begin our 3-part series with the SBA. So with that, it's 10:03. Thank you all for your attendance, and we look forward to seeing you real soon. So long.
Thank you.